The first sound was not loud. It was a thump, as if something heavy had been dropped far away. People glanced up. Someone laughed nervously. Then came the stranger sound. No sound at all. The constant hum of engines vanished. The floor stopped, vibrating, and the air itself felt empty. It was as if the plane had been unplugged from the world. Oxygen masks fell like yellow fruit from the ceiling. A toddler started to cry. A man in a baseball cap began to pray out loud, his words soft and fast. A teen at the window lifted his phone to film, then dropped it when his hands began to shake. The cabin lights flickered and shifted to an emergency red that made faces look pale and unreal. Row 17, seat F. A woman with a gray cardigan and a small canvas bag lifted the mask, looked at it for one quiet second, and gently pushed it away. She checked her seatbelt with 2 fingers, the way someone checks a heartbeat. She slipped off her shoes and slid them under the seat in front of her. Her eyes were steady. Her breathing was steady. She had the look of someone who had already been to this place. A flight attendant named Kara stumbled down the aisle with training in her hands and fear on her face. "Masks on, please. Heads down," she called. Her voice cracked. She stopped at row 17 and reached for the calm woman's mask. "I'm fine," the woman said softly, like a teacher in a classroom. "You should secure the galley carts, and ask the crew to make sure the cabin is clear of loose items." Her tone wasn't rude. It was certain. Kara's mouth opened, closed. "Ma'am, how do you—" The woman reached into her bag and held up a worn leather wallet. Inside, a faded ID showed a younger face with the same calm eyes. "Nadia Reyes," she said. "Flight test pilot. Retired. Tell the captain a calm voice in row 17 says, 'I've done this before.'" Kara stared at the card, then at Nadia, then at the masks swaying overhead. She nodded and moved forward, faster now. The intercom hissed, then a careful voice came through the static. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Ahmed. We have lost power on both engines. We are gliding. We are looking for the nearest safe place to land. Please follow crew instructions and remain calm." He was doing his best to sound steady. Fear still hung in the air like smoke you could not see. Outside the windows, the blue of the afternoon sky seemed wider and colder. The plane's nose lowered a little and kept lowering. You could feel the descent in your stomach, a slow falling that wasn't supposed to happen. Plastic cups rolled. A book slid off a tray and fell spine first to the carpet. In row 16, a boy with bangs tried to fit a mask over his little sister's freckled face. In row 18, an older couple squeezed hands, one hand with a wedding band thin from years of wearing. In row 9, a social media coach named Zane sat very still, his phone camera pointed at his own lap now, live stream still running in his pocket, where nobody was watching anymore. Kara reached the cockpit door and knocked. A moment later, the door opened a crack. The first officer, a woman with freckles and a sheen of sweat on her forehead, took one look at the ID in Kara's hand and then at Kara's eyes. Without a word, she took the ID and disappeared. The door shut. Nadia looked down the aisle. She watched people breathe like they were learning how. "In through the nose," she said gently to no one and everyone. "Out through the mouth. Slow." A young mother across the aisle copied her. Others copied the mother. A rhythm began in the middle of fear. The cockpit door opened again. The first officer stood there, a little breathless, but her eyes were fierce. "Ms. Reyes?" she asked. "Nadia," she said. "Captain wants to see you." The aisle suddenly felt too long. People moved their knees back. Someone whispered, "Is she a pilot?" The retired Air Force mechanic in row 17D leaned into the aisle and looked up at her face as she passed. His eyes widened with a kind of relief that looked like gratitude and grief at the same time. "You fly gliders?" he asked. "Everything glides with the engines off," she said. And then she was through the door. The cockpit felt like a small, hot room. The screens glowed with numbers that sank and numbers that did not change when they should. Captain Ahmed's hands were on the yoke, but the plane felt like it was holding itself. Wind hissed over the fuselage. The first officer, her name tag read B. Lee, slid back into her seat and looked over. A calm voice in row 17, the captain said without looking away from the horizon. "I hope you're real." "I am," Nadia said. She stood behind them, one hand on the back of each seat, reading the world as it was now, altitude ticking down, speed alive but touchy. Terrain on the screen like brown teeth, a thin line of highway, a darker ribbon that might be a river, a field that might be rock. "We lost both engines," Lee said. "Warning indications just before the thump. No restart. We're running on battery power." "Hydraulics?" Nadia asked. "Pressure low. We still have some control, for now." "How far to the main runway?" Nadia said. "Too far," the captain answered. 40 miles. "How much altitude?" 18,000, dropping. Nadia breathed in. She breathed out. She looked at the numbers and then at the sky itself, steady and blue and uncaring. The old part of her brain, the part that had learned to make a dead airplane a living thing, woke up like a hand catching a falling glass before it hits the floor. "We're a glider now," she said. "We fly it like one. Best glide speed, no panic moves, no big swings. We keep the nose honest, and we choose the ground we want. Captain, may I sit?" Captain Ahmed lifted his hands a fraction of an inch from the yoke, as if it were a sleeping child. "Please," he said, and the word meant more than one thing. Nadia slid into his seat. Her hands closed around the yoke like they were holding an old friend's shoulders. The plane felt heavy and light at the same time. The wind noise rose and fell with every tiny change. This was a place she knew. This was a place she had promised herself never to return to. She swallowed and did it anyway. "We have 12 minutes," she said, cool and clear. "We use them well, or we don't use any others." The first officer stared at her. 12 minutes until what?" "Until we touch something," Nadia said. "We'll make sure it's a runway, not a mountain." Behind them, in a cabin full of people who had never met, a hush spread like a hand over a crowded room. That hush broke when another sound entered the cockpit, a soft, sharp beep that didn't belong. The hydraulic pressure needle dipped. Then it fell. "Controls are going," Lee whispered. Nadia tightened her grip and kept her voice calm. "Then we teach a heavy bird to float with half its feathers," she said. "And we do it in time." The pressure warning went from yellow to red, and the captain, now standing behind her with a headset pressed to one ear, said the words that turned skin cold. "We just lost our hydraulics." Nadia's jaw set. "All right," she said. "Then we do it the hard way." Outside, the small fire break strip she had been eyeing flashed across the moving map like a thread someone might cut. And Nadia said, "We're going for the fire break." The first officer turned her head. "It's only 2,800 feet." "I know," Nadia said. The wind howled a little louder, and the cockpit went very, very still. "Best glide," Nadia said. "Trim it there. Don't chase the needle. Make the sky our friend, not our enemy." "Speed set," Lee answered. Her voice was steady now, matching Nadia's pace. The rhythm in the cockpit changed from panic to a kind of work. Nadia looked out. The desert below spread in tan and rust and gray, flat in some places and broken in others. The firebreak strip, a narrow road scraped through brush to stop wildfires, ran straight for a short distance and vanished into scrub. It was not a runway. It was a thread on a table. "Cabin," Nadia said. "We need them ready." Captain Ahmed pressed the intercom. "This is the captain. A trained pilot is assisting us. We are going to land on a short emergency strip. Flight. Attendants. Prepare the cabin. Passengers, listen carefully. Tighten your belts. Put on your shoes. Move heavy bags to the floor. Nothing loose. Kara and the other attendants began to move. The cabin changed shape. People put away their phones and grabbed each other's hands. The crying shifted from panic to a quiet that still trembled. The boy with bangs buckled his sister in tighter and whispered the breathing rhythm Nadia had shown. The man who had been live streaming took a deep breath and said, "If anyone needs help with a mask or belt, I can help." In row 17, the retired mechanic, Mr. Sutton, leaned into the aisle again and called out to Kara. "If the landing gear doesn't lock with hydraulics down," he said, "there's sometimes a hand crank." He pointed to a panel by the mid-cabin galley. "Under there, if they need it." Kara nodded and pulled the panel. There it was, a metal crank, painted red, with instructions stenciled in simple pictures. No one ever expected to use it. Her hands shook, then steadied. She looked up the aisle. "I'll need 2 strong volunteers." 2 men stood at once. A woman with farmer's shoulders stood with them. "3, she said. "We're faster with 3. "Copy," Kara said, and found a smile she didn't know she still had. In the cockpit, a light blinked for fuel imbalance. Nadia scanned and made a choice. "We're going to dump what we can," she said. "But with the systems dead, it won't be much. We come in lighter by coming in smarter." "Copy," Lee said. "Flaps? Leave them for now," Nadia said. "Without full hydraulics, we may get one position and lose them. We save that for the end." "Yes, ma'am," Lee said, and the ma'am sounded like respect, not fear. "Don't call me ma'am," Nadia said, and a quick ghost of a smile touched her mouth. "Call me Nadia." The firebrake strip grew slowly in the windscreen, thin and fragile. A billboard near it threw a shadow like a black hand on the ground. Beyond the strip, thin wires sagged between poles. A wash carved a pale scar nearby where water had once run angry. Nadia remembered a map in her mind. This area had flash floods in late summer. She glanced at the sky to the south. Towers of cloud gathered like mountains. "Weather building," she said. "We have time for one approach. One chance." "One," Lee repeated. Captain Ahmed spoke to the controller who could do nothing but clear the air around them. Sirens would be moving toward the firebrake now, dust rising behind white and red trucks. Everyone on the ground would look up and see a big shape coming down where big shapes did not go. "Manual gear," Kara said over the interphone. Her voice was short with work. "We're cranking." "Copy," Nadia said. "Keep going until your arms say stop." Lena, the farmer-shouldered woman, and the 2 men turned the crank. It was heavy and slow. Each click moved steel somewhere you could not see. Sweat ran from hairlines. Someone started counting the turns out loud. Others in the cabin took up the count, and the cabin was suddenly a chorus. 21, 22, 23. "Left main shows down and locked," Lee reported. "Right main's moving." "Leave the nose for last," Nadia said quietly. "We'll keep it off as long as we can." "Right main down," Lee said. "Nose is coming. The light is yellow. Yellow. Still yellow." "Keep cranking," Nadia said. "You've got this." 72, someone called in the cabin. 73. The light flickered. "Green?" Lee asked the light itself, as if she could talk it into doing the right thing. "Still yellow?" She answered herself. "Okay," Nadia said. "We plan for partial lock. We land gentle. We hold the nose off until the last second. We keep it straight with our feet." "You'll do a slip?" Lee asked. "We'll make the plane crooked on purpose," Nadia said. Simple words for something that felt like threading a needle with wind. "We turn a little into the wind and expose the big side of the fuselage. It slows us down without the brakes. It will feel wrong, but it will be right." Lee's mouth made a small O. Copy, Nadia. Reached forward and put a hand on the panel, not to push any switch, just to feel the airplane. Old test pilots sometimes touched the machine like that. You could feel your own calm going into the metal. Captain, she said without looking up, you'll talk the cabin through the landing. Tell them what the bump will feel like. Tell them what smoke on the wheels means. It might happen. Tell them noise is not danger by itself. Yes, the captain said. His voice over the intercom became a rope people could hold. The strip swam closer. The brown brush on both sides looked sharp and unforgiving. Nadia pictured tires exploding, metal screaming, aluminum folding, and then she pictured something else stubbornly. 3 wheels rolling straight and true, a long white bird dragging, its nose at the very last second, sparks like angry bees, and then stillness. Wind gust, Lee said. The plane twitched. Nadia quieted it with 2 fingers, nothing more. Stay with me, she murmured, and the plane did, like it trusted her. Sirens became visible now, tiny ants with lights down the length of the fire break. A single white pickup truck waited near the midpoint, its driver waving wildly, pointing at something on the ground ahead. A washout? A trench? A rock? Nadia didn't have the details she wanted. She had the picture she had. Last checks, she said, and her voice was almost tender with the machine. Gear as is, flap 1 if it gives it, speed steady, nose honest. Lee lifted, the flap lever 1 notch. The plane shivered like a horse feeling the bit. We have some, she said. Not full, but some. Take it, Nadia said softly. Thank you. Yellow on the nose gear, Lee whispered almost to herself. Please turn green. It did not. Fine, Nadia said. We will do our part, and physics will do the rest. She breathed. The strip was a line now, then a ribbon, then a road right below them. The pickup truck moved. It rolled forward. Nadia's eyes narrowed. Why is he moving? Lee asked. The truck drove onto the strip and stopped right across it. Nadia's breath caught. The roadblock was not a mistake. The driver stood on the bed of his truck and waved both arms like a scarecrow, pointing hard at something ahead. He was trying to tell them no. What is he warning us about? The captain asked. Lee leaned. Forward, eyes straining. The heat shimmer twisted the ground. For a second, the line of the fire break looked smooth. Then the air cooled just enough, and the shimmer eased, and the truth showed itself. Half the strip ahead of the truck was gone. A flash flood had eaten the road and left a dark, wet scar. We can't land there, Lee said, voice breaking. Nadia slid the plane a breath to the left, then to the right, feeling the weight that wanted to drop and the wind that wanted to push. She kept the nose honest. She kept the speed true. She chose. We land before the truck, she said. We stop before the hole. We don't have enough length, the captain said. Then we make the length we have enough, Nadia said. How? Lee whispered. Nadia's eyes never left the strip. We make the airplane smaller. Side slip now, Nadia said. She eased the yoke to the left and pressed right rudder at the same time, making the big white fuselage show its side to the wind. The nose stayed pointed down the strip, but the whole body leaned. The wind took hold of their broadside like a hand on a sail, and the airplane began to slow without stalling, the way a glider slows when the pilot asks it to give up pride and give up speed. It feels wrong, Lee said. It feels like stopping, Nadia said. That's what we need. Inside the cabin, people felt the lean and gasped. The older couple in row 18 pressed their foreheads together and breathed in time with the bumps. The boy in row 16 pressed his sister's hands into the armrest and kept his voice low and steady. We're slowing down. Slowing is good. Zane, the influencer, pressed the call button and spoke into the little black phone with a voice that finally understood weight. We have a little girl with asthma, he told Kara. I'll carry her if we evacuate. I'm strong. Kara thanked him like he had just saved the whole world. The manual crankers at the mid-cabin kept turning even when their arms shook. 99, Lena said through clenched teeth. 100. The nose gear light teased them with a faint flicker. Then it went yellow again. We'll take it, Lena said anyway. Sweat ran into her eyes. She didn't wipe it. She kept cranking. In the cockpit, everything moved slow and fast at once. The truck filled more of the window now, a white square, with a man in a plaid shirt, his arms windmilling. Beyond him, the black hole in the strip waited like a mouth that was not going to be fed today. Speed, Nadia said. Good, Lee answered. Height. Falling. Hold the slip. Holding. Eyes up, Nadia said, and it was like she was speaking to herself as much as to Lee. We look where we are going, not where we are afraid. The sirens drew closer. You could see the faces of the people standing by the brush now. Firefighters. In yellow, a sheriff with sunglasses, a woman in a sundress with a hand over her mouth. Everything on the ground seemed to be holding its breath with the plane. Cabin ready? The captain called over the interphone without taking his eyes off the forward glass. Brace positions on my mark. Kara's voice floated through the cabin like a song learned long ago. Brace, brace, brace when I say the word, not yet. Keep your heads down. Hold each other's hands if you can. The wind pushed hard. Nadia felt the tail try to swing. She caught it with her feet. Stay with me, she said again to the plane, and the plane obeyed, almost grateful to be told what to do. A telephone pole stood off the left side of the strip, close. Its wires dipped low, like a trap set by the day itself. Nadia measured them with her eyes. Her eyes were rulers now. She could see the inches that did not exist yet. Over the wires, Lee whispered. Under, Nadia said calmly. Too much. Climb will cost us distance. We go under and then up a breath. Lee swallowed. Copy. They dropped a whisper. The wires slid over the top of the cockpit window by a space so small it felt like an apology. Nadia lifted the nose a hair. The plane responded. The slip did its quiet work. Speed bled away like a nosebleed. You stop with your fingers. The pickup. Truck was alarmingly near. Is he moving? Lee asked. He is not moving, Nadia said. So we move around him. Left? The captain asked. Right, Nadia said. There's a hint of room there. Brush, but room. Brush meant thorns and small rocks, and the chance of a fire if a hot break kissed dry grass. Brush also meant one more second of rolling and one more foot of stopping. Cabin, the captain said into the intercom, and the word came out a little. Hoarse. Brace, brace, brace. People bent, heads down, hands on the seat backs in front of them, feet flat, the way they had been taught without ever thinking they would use it. The cabin became a field of bent shapes, small and large, all the same for one moment. Nadia straightened the plane just enough to point where she needed to point. Hold the nose off, she said to Lee. We fly on the main wheels. We don't let the nose touch until it begs. Copy, Lee said, and took a breath that made her 12 years old and full of wonder again, the first time she had ever felt wings under her. Touch. The main wheels kissed the strip with a sound like an angry sigh. The plane wanted to bounce. Nadia would not let it. Stay, she said. It stayed. The truck loomed. She nudged right, gentle but sure, and 2 sets of tires found the very edge of the scraped earth. Brush snapped and popped under the wings. The right wingtip cleared the truck's tailgate by a hand you could not spare. Brakes, Lee said. Manual pressure, Nadia answered, compressing everything she had into her feet. Without the anti-skid system, the brakes would lock if she stomped. She did not stomp. She hissed pressure in like she was whispering, easy, easy, to a skittish horse. Smoke curled from the tires. The odor slid into the cabin, hot rubber, harsh and real, and some people gasped. Smoke from brakes is normal, the captain. said at once, as if he had been inside Nadia's mind. We are slowing. They were. The hole in the strip was a black, growing moon now. Hold the nose, Nadia said to herself, to Lee, to the long white body under them. Not yet, not yet, not yet. The nose wanted to drop. She held it with a touch that was both firm and kind. The plane slowed. The brush beside the strip gave way to bare dirt. The tires screamed. The truck's driver had jumped down and was waving them past like he could push them with his arms. 300 feet, Lee said. 200. The hole came closer, filling the world. Nadia let the nose come down the smallest amount. The yellow light for the nose gear betrayed nothing. 100, Lee said. Her voice trembled for the first time. Nadia, now, Nadia said, and let the nose settle, not fall. Metal met earth. For 1/2 second, everything inside. The plane went light and then heavy as the nose gear took the weight of a world. The yellow light stayed yellow. The nose wheel howled. The gear shivered. The plane slid and bucked forward. 50 feet, 30, 20. The whole edge toward them like a dark mouth. Stop, Nadia whispered. The brakes sang a higher note. 10. 5. They stopped. The nose gear groaned and then, with a tired and final sigh, folded. The front of the plane settled onto the earth with a crunch and a low scream. A shower of sparks ran along the dirt, bright day fireworks. Dust lifted in a brown wave that swept over the cockpit windows and turned the world into a pale cloud. Silence crashed down. And then, a new noise, a rushing sound, not wind, not engines, water. Lee stared through the dust. What is that? Nadia blinked. A thin trickle ran along the edge of the wash, becoming a stream, becoming something that had a mind. The flash flood upstream was arriving, late to the party, and angry to be left out. We need to evacuate, Nadia said. Now, both. Sides, away from the wash.